Welcome back. The small island of Martha's Vineyard is most well known as a popular tourist destination, an enclave for the wealthy and well-connected. It has a long history as host to a vibrant African-American community, and it's also been home to the Aquinnah Wampanoag Indigenous people for centuries. Now, a journalist with strong ties to the island is exploring the complex history of displacement, land ownership, and his own journey with the Indigenous identity. Our Karen Holmes Ward spoke with Joseph Lee about his book called Nothing More of This Land.
How you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Thanks for being here. So your family has deep roots on the vineyard. Can you tell us about your connection and experience growing up?
Yeah, so my family is Aquinnah Wampanoag, so we've been on the island for thousands and thousands of years. And I didn't grow up there, I grew up off island in Newton, but every summer we went back and I would visit my grandparents. And my family has a business there, so we would go back, and that was sort of part of the seasonal routine.
What stands out to you about one of the most important things that you learned while you were writing?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is just how complicated these questions of Indigenous identity, Indigenous land are. I think in this country we're kind of raised to think about it in a very narrow, very specific way. But the more you learn and the more you think about it, the more you realize there are all sorts of different layers. It's not just sort of one linear story, it's their ups, downs, lefts, rights, there's all sorts of things, and I think it's important for us to consider all of that.
Now, everybody knows that the cost of living and affordable housing is an issue not just in Massachusetts, but certainly on Martha's Vineyard as well. It's a challenge for the Aquinnah Wampanoag. How has that directly impacted who can fully participate on the island in the tribal community, and what's being done to change that?
So we have over 1,000 members in the tribe, but only a few hundred of those actually live on Martha's Vineyard, and then even a smaller number, about 100 or so, live in our town, Aquinnah. And one of the reasons for that is because people just simply can't afford to live there. They can't afford the cost of living, they can't afford houses, property taxes, and there's limited opportunity. And so for us as a community, the way it's impacted us is that, we're this, dispersed community now. And people think of Indigenous folks as kind of all living on the land together, but for us and for actually a lot of tribes across the country, we're very spread out. People move around for different reasons.
Now, land conservation also an important issue that you talk about in this book. Climate change actively altering coastlines across New England, and the cliffs in Aquinnah are just beautiful. You write about how the Wampanoag tribe advocates wealthy homeowners on the island and local government to protect the land. Talk about the different approaches that you're undertaking.
Yeah, so the tribe has a great natural resources department. They work to strengthen the dunes, protect sea level rise, bring back natural plants, fight invasive species. But I think the other important issue when we talk about conservation is there's so many different approaches, and I think what's so often happened is that non-native folks try to come in and tell tribes, here's how you should do things. And if the tribe wants to do something a little bit differently, sometimes those outside people don't really like that. And I think what's been proven, both anecdotally, historically, and scientifically, is that when Indigenous nations have control and stewardship over their land, they manage it really well and the environment thrives. So I think it really should be a question of kind of letting Native folks do what they do best.
Your parents own a store in Aquinnah on the cliffs. It's a fabulous tourist destination. Talk about that paradox.
Yeah, so my grandparents started this store, Hatmarcha Gifts, in the 70s. And when I was a kid, my parents took it over, and so it's been a family business for over 50 years. And yeah, it's a really unique experience growing up and living in this tourist community and kind of relying on tourism for your family to make a living. On the other hand, we know that tourism is the driver behind some of the increased cost of living, housing crisis that we've spoken about. And so it's a really interesting tension where tourism is kind of this economic engine you rely on, but on the other hand, you also can see how it's negatively impacting the community. And it opens up a lot of questions like, well, how should we deal with this? Is there another way? And I think those are questions we're still trying to figure out.
And what does the title of the book mean? Nothing More of This Land.
Nothing More of This Land is actually a little piece of a quote from an old document written by one of our leaders sort of in the colonial era. And basically what the document is referring to is saying that this is our land as a people. We need to hold on to this land and fight for it and do whatever we can to keep it. And that's kind of a lesson I thought was really, really powerful, and I thought it was a perfect fit for the book.
Now, you said you wrote this book to tell a different kind of Native story. So what makes this book different than others we might have read?
Yeah, a few things. One is, I think, being open to that complexity and nuance. I think Native identity is something we think about as kind of these stereotypes or something that only exists in the past. And so I wanted to write a story that showed diversity of Native perspectives. You know, I interview people across the country and around the world who are Indigenous and have their own sort of point of view. I also really tried to tell a modern Native perspective, you know, not just one that exists only in the past. I wanted to make it clear that we're still here, we've evolved, we're changing, and, you know, we have a lot to say.
President Trump has reignited this issue of naming of sports teams. He's threatened to hold up the plans to build a new stadium in D.C. for the Commanders if they don't return to the team's previous name, which we know has been deemed derogatory. And he also mentioned baseball's Cleveland Guardians. The president posted on social media, "Our great Indian people in massive numbers want this to happen. Their heritage and prestige is systematically being taken away from them." What do you make of this?
Yeah, I think it's just, you know, people are always trying to speak for Native people and represent our issues. And I also think there's this sort of myth that these mascots or sports teams' names are honoring us in some way. And I really don't think that's the case. I think what it is more of the same story of relegating us to caricatures and people that only exist in the past.
All right. Thank you for answering that question for us. Joseph Lee, thanks for being here today. And once again, the book is called Nothing More of This Land.